We're ready to go? Good evening. If we could call this meeting to order, and please start with a moment of silence for prayer or reflection. Thank you. If we could just get a roll call of who's on the line.
So we have on the line Brian Mastel, Corporate Services, Public Services Commissioner, Howard Snodgrass, Acting Corporate Services Commissioner, Stan Schwarzenberger, Development Infrastructure Commissioner, and Brad Mains, Commissioner of Energy and Utilities.
Thank you.
Okay, first we have adoption of the agenda, and we do have one item to add. It will be under new business. It's going to be item 10.1. Collective bargaining with the Local 46 of the Canadian Union of Public Employees.
Any other additions? Okay, seeing none, we'll accept the agenda.
Next, we have adoption of our minutes from the Medicine Hat regular City Council meeting of July 20th, item 3.1.
Any errors, omissions? Seeing none, accept them.
Next, we have under public hearings, item 4.1, bylaw 4633, a bylaw of the City of Medicine Hat to close roads in the City of Medicine Hat. This is for 901 13th Street Southwest, which is Cook's Funeral Home, and we've received no submissions.
Your Worship,
Thank you.
this time, just to be clear, is this second reading?
This second and third tonight.
Second. Okay. Your Worship, I move bylaw 4633 be read a second time.
I'll second that.
We are required to have a public hearing. If anybody would like to come and speak for or against this bylaw, please state your name, whether you be in the audience or online or over the telephone. I'll ask for a second time if anybody would like to come and speak for or against this bylaw. Please come forward, state your name. And a third and final time, if anybody would like to speak for or against this bylaw, please come forward and state your name. Okay, seeing and hearing no one, we will close the public hearing. Is there any other questions or comments, Council, on second reading? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that was unanimous. Thank you.
Your Worship, at this time, I'd ask that bylaw 4633 be read a third time and passed.
Second that.
Comments? Seeing none, if we'll call the vote. All in favor? And that was unanimous. Thank you.
Next, under reports, we have item 5.1, the Administrative Committee meeting of July 22nd. Tender recommendation is for information.
I move that report accordingly.
Second. Comments, questions? It's for information. Okay, seeing none, if we could vote, all in favor? That was unanimous, thank you.
Our next report is item 5.2, the Development and Infrastructure Committee meeting of July 22nd, and this is also for information.
I'll move that report for information.
Second. If we could vote, all in favor? That was unanimous, thank you.
Next report, item 5.3, the Public Services Committee meeting of July 27th, and the item 2019-2020 Parks and Recreation Capital Budget Amendment is for adoption.
I'll move the report for adoption, and after it's seconded, just a brief comment, if I could, please.
I'll second that.
Go ahead, Councillor Friesen.
Okay, thank you. I just want to draw your attention to this as a good news story, and it's always nice to highlight good news stories. So Central Park is going to be the recipient of a natural playground, which is quite exciting. If you've ever seen a natural playground, it's a very innovative and a wonderful opportunity for children and their families. Anyway, there was a budget. If you look in your material, there was a budget allocated to this. The public may think that we're asking for more money for the budget, when in fact this is third-party funding, so the Kiwanis has been able to get an additional amount of money to make the budget much larger than anticipated. So there's zero impact to our budget, but a great big impact to the children of Medicine Hat. So I just wanted to say thank you for that and point it out for your attention.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Varga?
It is a good news story, and anytime you can do some extra things in a park for the community, I think it's a good thing. Are they, maybe some questions, are they revamping the whole park or just portions of it? Or do you know?
Councillor Varga, I don't know that level of detail. I'm sorry. Perhaps CAO, could you take that? Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, Commissioner Mastel is on the phone and very familiar with this project, so I'll defer to Commissioner Mastel.
Through the chair, to Councillor Varga, the project is just a portion of the park. There's playground equipment on the west side of the park, and that equipment will be removed and replaced. That park is also home to the disc golf course. There's a playground on the east side of it, and we have a water park there. And so those other three components will not be affected by this work. It's just the playground structures on the west side.
It sounds intriguing. Is there an example of this somewhere that we could take a look at this, by chance?
There actually is. We received some information from someone some time ago, not the Public Services Committee. I got it. It was really interesting. I'll see if I can dig it up for you, but we'll get you some information. It really is quite an opportunity that is so different from traditional playgrounds and so congruent with how children play.
You said it's a good news story, and I think the people around that area will appreciate that some new stuff is actually coming to that park. It is probably one of our oldest parks, I believe, in Medicine Hat, and a few things have been done there, so I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the future there for that and how it'll get utilized after that. I know there's a water park there also, so I mean, this will enhance it even more, and $300,000 is a pretty good chunk of change to make some changes within a park, so I'm looking forward to seeing the finished product.
And the whale will stay. Any other comments? All right, if we could vote, all in favor? That was unanimous, thank you.
Our next report is item 5.4, Administrative Committee meeting of August 6th, and item number 1, 2020 tax cancellation for Cypress Bingo Society is for adoption, with the remainder of the report for information.
So moved.
Comments? Councillor Dumanowski.
Worship, item 1 stands out at the moment, the tax cancellation for the Cypress Bingo Society. I guess from the public standpoint, there are a lot of sensitivities around where we exercise our ability to cancel taxes, pardon me. This is no exception. I think what makes this, I wouldn't say easier, but makes this practical is that it's a society that has the benefit, net benefit of helping so many other groups in our community who are not-for-profit or nonprofit. And they're under a little bit of an attack, obviously, from the COVID scenario, not the least of which, when we looked at the background information on this, other municipalities certainly have exercised their right to do the same thing in their communities, in some cases even pre-COVID-19. So this is not to say that we're doing this because others have done it. It's just, it's good to sometimes look at practices elsewhere and understand the implications of it, because even though it's not a significant amount, it dilutes the pool, and obviously somebody has to pay the bill. So we don't take these things lightly, but I wholeheartedly endorse and support council canceling this tax for 2020. And it is a one-year occurrence. This is not something that will be done necessarily year after year. But I would implore council to support the cancellation of taxes for the Cypress Bingo Society. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Turnbull?
Well, I was going to speak on item 2 of the
Go ahead. Yeah.
So, item 2 is request for proposal recommendation for expenditure of $780,000 for gas well abandonment free flight field in Saskatchewan. And I think I've asked Commissioner Maines through our CEO, if that's okay, to sort of give our citizens and the rest of council speaking on this matter, because what you're going to hear is this is cutting edge new technology. Commissioner Maines, would you like to comment on that proposal, please?
If you're speaking, you're muted. Oh, yeah, he didn't hear because the mic was on. Commissioner Maines, Councillor Turnbull has asked you to speak on item 2 of 5.4, the RFP on the cut and cap at Free Fight.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I must have missed the question.
Go ahead. I supposedly you have some information that about some leading edge technology perhaps on this issue?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Apologize for missing the question. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to speak to 5.4, item 2, as pertains to the recommendation for the RFP in the Free Fight area as it pertains to our accelerated abandonment program. If one was to do the math on this proposal with approximately 750 wells under consideration, it would appear that each well is running out approximately $10,000 each. The actual number itself, and then one could jump to the conclusion that that's the overall cost. That's actually not the case in this particular, and would be regularly in this situation. This is just one portion of the overall abandonment and reclamation program. I go into detail on this just given the awareness around our program and the other wells that will be upcoming as we work through that program over the next couple of years. The first portion is downhole abandonment. This is where we secure the surface from any producing formations. That has already been done in the Free Fight area for these wells under consideration. The second part is cut and cap. This is where we actually remove the surface equipment that passers-by or surface owners will actually see in the area, the wellhead and any associated pipelines. So that's what we're talking about tonight, is the actual removal of that equipment. Historically, we would have brought in heavy equipment to dig around the actual wellbore itself and cut off that casing once it's been exposed to the surface. A large excavation needed for that. Technology has evolved, and we hope it continues to evolve as we work through this program to bring down costs and also bring down environmental impact. In this case, we're using a technology where we actually use pressure of water at significantly high pressures to actually cut down in close proximity to that wellbore and cut it off at the regulated and appropriate depths. This results in much less surface impact as pertaining or as relative to the previous method, and has a twofold. It's less costly. It's much more timely, and it also results in less surface impact. This is important as we move into the last phase of reclamation. The third phase is the actual, we take that equipment off site. The fourth phase is the actual reclamation of the surface lease back to acceptable limits or acceptable standards, both from regulator and surface owner perspective. That does take a significant period of time, and the more that the site has been impacted, the longer that takes. In this particular case, and given that we do not have to disrupt the surface soil, those areas that have been naturalized, the surface lease is less impacted, and it brings down the overall reclamation time on the overall process, thus dropping our cost and enabling us to return that surface lease to the appropriate owner for their subsequent use and enjoyment. So it's, again, and thank you to Councillor Turnbull for prompting the question. It is an example of technology assisting in a better future, and we hope that continues.
Thank you. Any other question? Well, actually, I've got on this item, item 2. Okay, I got Councillor Varga.
If I might, thank you through the chair to talk about the tax cancellation again. I think it's very important that through the tough times here now, that it's important that this happens, and I wholeheartedly am for this. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations that rely on the Bingo Society to raise their funds for the year, and a lot of times over the past 10 years, I think it's been declining a little bit for bingo players and the amount of money that the bingo people are spending, and what's happening with the service clubs. They don't make as much money, but it is important for them to make some money so that they can continue on with their nonprofit organizations, and this is one way of doing it. So I think this is a great thing at this time, because I think the hall was closed for probably 3 months or 4 months, I believe, and it only opened up, I think, in the middle of July, so the funding's not going to be there like it is for past years, but I think this is a important strategy for us to do and to move forward with to fix this and to help the service clubs of Medicine Hat.
Thank you, Councillor Friesen.
Well, I was going to say virtually the same thing as Councillor Varga. On item number 1, I certainly support this item. When you think about what we have attempted to do to support the people of Medicine Hat, the business community, and to some extent the nonprofits, I see that as part of our initiative. It is only for 1 year. A lot of nonprofit organizations depend on, well, they all do. They depend on revenue from bingo and casino, all of which are down considerably, which impacts their ability to serve the community. So I really support this, and I know it's only for a year. We'll have to reassess, but I would urge all of you to support it.
Any other questions or comments on this report? Oh, Councillor McIntosh.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just a quick question on item number 3. An award has been given to Burns and McDonnell, and I'm just wondering, and it's related to the engineering work on Unit 17, is this the same company that did work on Unit 16?
The answer is no. Any other questions or comments? All right, if we could vote on this report, all in favor? That was Jim. Councillor Turner, sorry, I didn't see your hand. Oh, all in favor? Oh, yes. Yeah, okay, good.
Okay, our next report is item 5.5, Public Services Committee meeting of August 10th for information.
So moved.
Seconder?
Second.
Okay. If we could vote, all in favor? That was unanimous, thank you.
Under reports for reception, we have item 6.1, Municipal Planning Commission meeting of June 24th for information.
I move this report for reception.
Second.
Comments? If we could vote, all in favor? That was unanimous, thank you.
Next is item 6.2, the Heritage Resources Committee meeting of July 14th for information.
I'll move the report for information.
Comments, questions? Seeing none, if we could vote, all in favor? That was unanimous, thank you.
Our last report for reception is item 6.3, Police Commission meeting minutes of July 16th.
I will move them for reception.
Second.
Comments? Councillor Turner?
Thank you, Your Worship. So I often wonder when I go through this report and how detailed it is. And one of the things I have been wondering about is how much of the police department resources goes into putting this report together every month. I mean, it's got to be a fair amount of work. And I don't know, maybe they have to do these reports anyway, but when I look at this and in these times of austerity, I'm just wondering, is it necessary to have this report this detailed? And could there be some cost savings there by maybe not having so much work go into it? And I know you probably don't know the answer, but maybe you could bring it forward to another meeting.
Yeah, I'll take a stab, and I imagine Councillor Dumanowski wants to add. I don't know the answer in terms of, we've not asked that exact question. I can tell you that the reporting requirements for police are very stringent, so they have to do this anyway. These would be excerpts of their larger reports that they have to create. Second thing I want, and I hear your point, and we can certainly take it and ask, but the point I want to make is this, that a police commission is established by provincial legislation for civilian oversight of policing. And so it's really important that we get a certain level of information to understand. You hear so many, usually larger police services, and I'm glad ours is not one of them, where there are allegations of all kinds of wrongdoings, whether that be justified or not. And a good civilian oversight governing body is responsible to understand it well enough to know that that is not happening in their police service. And so I hear your point. I mean, but it doesn't concern me because I think we need to understand that everything is on the up and up, that there's accountability, that we have every reason to be proud of our police service.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think Councillor Friesen said it well. The oversight piece is not to be underappreciated, and not to say that there's a lot of extra effort being put into this to create an artificial sense of transparency or reporting. But as Councillor Friesen said, these stats, these numbers are gathered regardless. And when you think about our committee structure, we have biweekly meetings, not all the time, but most of the time. And there's a lot of decision items and background information that goes into those. This is a different form of gathering information. And I know in my first 6 years on council and my first time on the commission, at that time there was significant reporting as well, but I think over time there was a desire, probably more so from the community, to have even greater transparency, more detail around the function of the service. The opposite, of course, that could be said is that there's a short report, the public is wondering where it's a significant part of the budget, and in some ways this doesn't justify its means, but it creates some understanding on a deeper level around the operational side of policing. And you can start to gather from reading these, if you take the time, the variety of departments and things that are reported on, and obviously that gives some credence and accountability to the dollars that go towards policing. And in the end, policing in a municipal environment like ours with a commission is all about transparency, informing the public, giving them the opportunity to attend meetings or remotely or otherwise to ask questions. All of that is achieved through these reports. So I'm glad you asked the question because it gave us a chance to speak to it. But certainly I'm sure there's more that we're missing today, but that's kind of the gist of, I think, of it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, see none. If I could call the vote, all in favor? It's unanimous, thank you.
Next, under our bylaws for second and third readings, we have item 7.1, bylaw 4625, a bylaw of the City of Medicine Hat to incur indebtedness in the amount of $66 million for the purpose of the 2020 electric generation plan, Unit 17, and no submissions were received.
Your Worship, I move that bylaw 4625 be read a second time.
Second.
Comments, questions? Go ahead, Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you. So everyone around council knows why Genco is investing this money. I want to, again, let our citizens know that this is not money we're borrowing to run and operate the city. This is an investment. by Genco to increase our capabilities of production capacity. And so everybody understands that Genco has a revenue stream and they have an expense stream. And in that expense stream is their cost of borrowing, principal and interest. And that's how Genco was built. That's how originally NGPR was built. And the numbers make very good sense on a business case for us to borrow this money. And I know it sounds like a lot, but when you think about our profitability over the last number of years for Genco has been outstanding. So we don't foresee that changing anytime soon. So I just wanted everybody to be aware that this is not a cost to the city taxpayer. This is an investment by Genco into helping us, or hopefully help us make more money. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Second reading? Oh, yeah, Councillor Hirsch.
Just some clarification, I think, for council to understand that this isn't necessarily 100% borrowing, and my understanding is we have the option certainly to use it by debenture, but there may be, and maybe it's a question of the CAO, whether or not, and you're just looking for flexibility, where there might be some cash put into this instead of 100% using finance to pay for the asset. So maybe some comment to that, CAO.
Through the chair to Councillor Hirsch. That's true. It seemed prudent to get authority to go to a full 100% leverage on this asset. It's a good business case and it's a stable earnings platform that can support 100% leverage. Cost of debt is exceedingly low right now, and so it seemed in the best interest of the city for us to look at leveraging this particular asset. Between now and time of borrowing, if there's a better strategy that emerges, we'll be back in front of council. We'll adjust the final financing methodology and only borrow what we need.
And there is, in my understanding, this asset may be through via different currencies. So I'm just wondering about, maybe you can expand on the hedging strategy too, just so that we have an understanding that there's not a lot of volatility in the USD and CAD right now.
Through the chair to Councillor Hirsch, a very good point. A significant portion of this expenditure will likely be denominated in US dollars, which would make it prudent for us to hedge the US dollars in order to fix the budget. That hedge has not been exercised to this point, to my knowledge, but following this borrowing bylaw, we would look to hedge that and lock it in.
Thank you. Councillor Turnbull.
Your Worship, well, just to follow up on that, for sure, most of it's in US dollars, but the other point of view is that lots of companies like General Electric United States are struggling. So they are going to try, we're going to push them to get the cheapest possible price, so that should make up even more on the Canadian to US dollars. So that was part of the strategy to begin with. Today is a good day if you're buying a house because of low interest rates. It's a good day if you're buying capacity for electricity when the people who make those machines are desperate to sell them. So, thank you.
Councillor Friesen.
Thank you. I wanted to speak briefly to this as well. To Councillor Turnbull's point about investment, that's how I see this decision as well. It's an investment in the future in many ways. I mean, it ensures our capacity is there to serve those we already serve. For me, it's also about a little bit about the future, well, a lot about the future actually, because it could help with economic vibrancy, it could help with drawing more business development, it could help with creating more jobs, which obviously is something we are most interested in doing. In terms of borrowing, this is a huge amount of money. But the cost of borrowing is the best it's ever going to be, I think. And the price we can get, albeit in American dollars, is probably the best price we're ever going to get as well. So that combination makes it very appealing to do now rather than at another time, which we might have considered. For those listening at home or reading about this, $66 million is a tremendous amount of money, and I just want to elaborate that this is not a decision taken lightly. It looks like it when you're watching a council meeting and the vote's taken and everyone's hand go up and there's a little bit of discussion and, oh yeah, they spent $66 million. I used to joke that we spent, 4 hours talking about dog poop and 2 seconds talking about buying a turbine. And I say that tongue in cheek because it's really true. What you don't see is all of the research and the negotiations, the background work, the information that's put together that helps make a decision like this. It's vetted through all of the staff and the senior executive and the admin team. It goes through committee. Council has many opportunities to see it. So when you see our hand go up tonight for the $66 million, it's not that we just take this responsibility frivolously. We take it very, very seriously, and I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Turnbull?
Yeah, no, I think your comments are good, but I think there's one thing that's missing in that, and perhaps either Brad or Siri and Nico could mention, is that we also have responsibility to the electrical distribution system, where it's called N-1. So maybe you, Bob, could you just give a rundown as that's another important part of this issue?
Through the chair, I'd be happy to. Commissioner Mains is on the phone, and perhaps I could ask Commissioner Mains to elaborate on the rationale supporting N-1.
Thank you to the CAO and through the chair to Councillor Turnbull. Yes, the primary driver for this next generation unit being Unit 17 is the N-1 test. We have a ring-fence electric distribution system, electric generation and subsequent distribution system that is predicated on the City of Medicine Hat being able to provide significant electricity for its residents and its customers during peak periods. With the recent economic growth that we have had in the city, with several significant industrial clients coming in, as well as overall residential growth, we no longer meet the requirements for N-1. That's the requirement for us to move forward with that next generation unit. Ancillary benefit, of course, is, as pointed out by several councillors earlier in this discussion, the benefits for additional capacity and for future growth. But in order for us to remain within our exemption, it is a regulated requirement that we ensure that we have a backup supply. I know there were some questions asked after first reading about the individuals and residents, ratepayers who reached out and asked us about renewables. And those were very welcome and very appropriate questions regarding the future of renewables as it pertains to these natural gas generation units. However, under the exemption for the City of Medicine Hat, we have to ensure that that power is available all the time. And they're in the natural gas build versus a renewable focus on Unit 17. We have to be able to ensure that that power is available when the sun is not shining and the wind is not blowing. But again, just to reiterate earlier comments, very much support a renewables future and look forward to talking a lot about that over the years to come. But for now, this is a regulated requirement, and we continue to fully support and encourage the decision to move forward on Unit 17 borrowing from Environment and Utilities Division.
Thank you. Councillor Hirsch?
Well, Your Worship, and I was going to reiterate Commissioner Mains's point. We are in the electrical business where we provide electricity to our citizens. The funny thing is we're so used to reliability that we kind of forget that it's so easy to flip on a light switch and you're thinking 100 out of 100 times it should go on. But there's a heck of a lot of work that goes involved, and this is one shining example where if we're not proactively looking at this entity to provide reliable service to its citizens, and I, for one, as a previous business owner, ran into an issue where there was a power outage. My freezer went down, and I lost a considerable amount of inventory. So, you need to understand that there's a lot of people that want reliability, and this is just the cost of doing business. I know it's a large amount of money, But you can rest assured that the City Council looked at best efforts in terms of what is the wise use and how equitable it would be for us to make this investment for the citizens of Medicine Hat. So I'm pretty pleased to see it. It's actually, it is a celebration of the fact that we have advanced both economically and otherwise in order to have this. So I'm pretty pleased to support it. Thank you.
Councillor Turnbull?
Thank you, Your Worship. Brad, could you just explain what N-1 actually means to the average person? I know that when I first got on committee, I thought, what is N-1? I thought it would be 2-1, but it's not. It's N-1. So could you explain that to our citizens and to the rest of council as well?
Oh, yes, certainly, Councillor Turnbull. Through the chair, N-1 is a reference to the loss of the next largest generation unit. Currently, our capacity within the city is 255 megawatts. Our next nearest or largest supplier of energy is 59 megawatts. So the N-1 reference is to a situation where that particular unit would go down. And where the regulator looks at this is if that unit does go down, do you have enough capacity to service your customers? And they're in our reference here to, at this point, and based on our calculations, on a hot summer day, and today is very much one of those days, with air conditioning running full, if we were to lose that next largest supply unit of 59 megawatts, we could be in a situation where we would have to import to meet our local demand. And although we have the capability and permission to import, as said under our exemption, it's not expected. It is expected that we would be able to provide for our residents and customers without that next available unit. Thus, the regulator would view us as having sufficient generation capacity, and hopefully that explains it as best I can, Councillor Turnbull, on that.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, if we could call the vote on second reading, all in favor? That was unanimous, thank you.
Your Worship, I move that bylaw number 4625 be read a third time and passed.
Second.
Questions, comments on third reading? Okay, if we could vote, all in favor? And that was unanimous, thank you.
Next, under our new bylaws section, we have item 8.1, bylaw 4634, a bylaw of the City of Medicine Hat to amend bylaw 4168, the City of Medicine Hat land use bylaw. This bylaw is for first reading only.
I move to leave to introduce bylaw number 4634, and that'll be read a first time.
Second.
If I could call the question, all in favor? That was unanimous, thank you.
Our next bylaw is item 8.2, bylaw 4635, a bylaw of the City of Medicine Hat to amend bylaw 4168, the City of Medicine Hat land use bylaw for first reading only.
I move for leave to introduce bylaw number 4635, and that'll be read a first time.
Second.
Go ahead.
Your Worship, just a quick question, which is appropriate question of information
Oh, yeah.
at first reading. I just wondered if someone could outline to us this, and without commenting on it, this is a proposed change from low density residential to medium density in an area that is really all low density. So my question is, to what extent is this item information about it given to the neighborhood so they have a chance to give input if they want to? How many people, how far away, that kind of thing?
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so we will advertise 2 consecutive Saturdays and we'll notify all abutting properties in the neighborhood. So we will mail out notices as well as advertise in the Medicine Hat News, and we will post it online as well.
Okay, and to the city clerk, or through the chair to the city clerk, if I could, so when you say all neighbors, is that the entire area, or like, can you give me a vision of what that would be?
We will usually go 2 streets out. So you have your properties and the surrounding 2 streets out.
Did we get a seconder on that one?
Yep.
Yeah,
Councillor
okay.
Birch.
Any other, no, I guess, any other questions or comments on first reading? All right, if we could vote, all in favor? It's unanimous, thank you.
Okay, we have no notices of motion, so our new business item is 10.1, and this is the collective bargaining with the Local 46 of the Canadian Union of Public Employees. And I believe Councillor Dumanowski is speaking to this.
Your Worship, I move that the memorandum of agreement reached between the City of Medicine Hat and Local 46 of the Canadian Union of Public Employees concerning a collective agreement for the term of January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2022, and providing inter alia for the following general wage adjustments is hereby approved and ratified. 0% effective January 1st, 2020, 0% effective January 1st, 2021, and 2% effective January 1st, 2022.
Any questions or comments? Okay,
Your Worship.
go ahead.
Just to make a quick general comment, first of all, this is a significant move on the part of the QP 46 and the City of Medicine Hat in settling one of the bargaining groups early on, and all it being done in a very difficult environment of COVID-19 and some of the challenges that have come out of that. Just to highlight to the public that the Canadian Union of Public Employees 46 for the city is made up of municipal and engineering or energy divisions, and there are 503 permanent and approximately 188 temporary employees that are affected by this. So obviously with the uncertainty of COVID-19, we are doing a couple things. First of all, we have the need, and we were pursuing an agreement with CUPE prior to COVID, but during a short temporary stoppage, we've been able to re-engage and work toward a resolution that has been ratified by the union and now hopefully by council tonight. These agreements don't come without a lot of hard work and a good faith, transparent and open process and dialogue between city employees, negotiators, and the union bargaining group. So I want to congratulate and applaud both groups for working hard and tirelessly. And I believe this resolution before us today at 0, 0, and 2 is very, again, appropriate for the time. And it shows that the good faith and the relationship that the city has and enjoys with CUPE was able to derive a result that we believe is going to be to the benefit of all. So I want to thank everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, well said. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that was unanimous, thank you. Seeing no more business before this council, we're adjourned.